This is Three Beards Media. Real talk, no filters, no scripts. From sports to culture, we say what others won't. Turn it up, lock in, because it all starts right now. Live from the AKC Andrew Downs Studios and powered by Revelton Distilling Company.
Coming straight for you from the heart top, you've seen the whole state rise. With a heart so strong and fire in our eyes. On the field, on the court, in the stands we shine. The best in the game, and the state is mine. Cover Hawkeyes, fucking watch them break that glass. Dropping dimes, hitting threes, never second guess. Full court hustle, hit the sneaker slide. With the fight in our veins, we read that.
All right, good evening, and no, you're not seeing double. We actually have four people for the first time ever on the Hawks Eye View. Andrew Barber, AJ Hawksby with you as always, but we have recurring guest Tyler, TCraigsHoops, and new guest, first time ever on the show, Ben Stan. Welcome in, both of you guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
I appreciate that intro. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, it's always been great having you on, Tyler. Ben, TBD. You got to do your best performance because Tyler has been an ace on this show multiple times. But
I just want some of that pizza.
Oh, you want some of the Creasman foods? We'll see what we can do.
No, it's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Tony's listening in. For those of you who know about the Trilly Discord, Tony's always on the Trilly Discord. Which, Ben, you became the owner of the Trilly Discord for a little bit. Is that right? Did you actually take over the Trilly Discord?
Yeah.
Trilly Donovan Discord?
I was voted to kind of run the show. Well, just the ins and outs of it, of letting people in and out of the chat, and it was a colossal failure. So I think the first 6 people I booted, I actually sent off the full server. So they had to email Trilly back that they couldn't get on any private channel or anything. So yeah, it was pretty fun. But those Illinois fans kind of deserve it. So
it's great. You did it on purpose. It's all right. We can admit it here. It's fine. But all right. Well, just kind of wanted to start off with Ben. Maybe tell us a little bit more about your Iowa Hoops fandom, maybe when it started and kind of what got you into Iowa Hoops.
Yeah, for me, it was actually a little bit later in life than I think most. I grew up more of a North Carolina fan because, it was back when you had ESPN, ABC, so they were on TV more in Northwest Iowa. Then once ESPN2 started to kick in, you got to see a little bit more of the Hawkeyes play, some local TV stuff. But the story there is I actually went to an Iowa basketball camp when I was a kid where Steve Alford was there coaching. And I just remember him just being an ass. And ever since that camp, I didn't care much for them. So once he left and then Lick came, there wasn't a lot to be excited about either. But once they hired Fran, I think that's when it really, really started. So they were always team number 2 for me. But then once Fran started is when I went back and absolutely loved Iowa kind of from that point on. So it's been a while now, excuse me. And completely off the North Carolina train too, 100% Hawkeye. But so, yeah, a solid 15, 20-year run here.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry, trying to figure out what happened on the screen in the background here, but we're flipping everything around. So, yeah, glad that you're here and you're on board. Kind of wanted to get both of your guys' thoughts, and I'll let Tyler, maybe you start on the Elite Eight run. I mean, it was kind of a magical run, right? So Just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on the season and how it went. Obviously, it went well.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough to pick where to start, right? I mean, I'm a season ticket holder, so was able to and fortunate to be at so many of the home games this season and really just literally feel the energy begin to shift, right? I think from a start to finish, where it ended at the conclusion of the season from a fan perspective, maybe left just a tad to be desired, but as much as what comes to mind for that, the Michigan loss stinging, just such an incredible effort, and the crowd was unbelievable that night from start to finish. And of course, you can fill in other games like Nebraska and what have you in there as well. But I think it goes without saying, there was a lot of ups and downs from an on-court perspective that I'm sure we'll be able to really dive into. And I think those that kind of stayed close with me throughout the year, talk back and forth, whatever it may be. I feel like, I always, was kind of relaying the theme that, if I was playing their best basketball in the NCAA tournament or just down the stretch of the season, that, they would, I wasn't promising a second weekend appearance or anything of that nature, but, I feel like they were a team that you would not want to play, especially, at the time, Bennett Skirts leading the way. It goes without saying that there was, just a lot of ups and downs. And I think about the Penn State game in particular, Maryland, it felt like a lot of opportunities were really left there on the floor, despite, what you were kind of seeing from maybe an analytical reflection. But it was just so poetic that, it finally comes together in that game against Florida, and obviously keep it rolling against, Nebraska. And they had to play, I think what, is going to get lost maybe a little bit in history is how good of a game they had to play to beat them on the night as well. And, as much as people want to hate on Nebraska, that was a fantastic team at the same time. And I don't think you would want it any other way, right, in terms of a path. I mean, they did it the hard way. And it's just so it feels so rewarding, to see it come together for the program in this way. And everyone always fantasizes, right, about what it would be like when Iowa finally broke through. Just so many years of fantastic teams, extremely talented players who just couldn't quite get over that hump. And it's unprecedented territory, right? But what an exciting time to be a fan.
Yeah, for sure. Would we say now that expectations are going through the roof? Maybe are we going to swing the other way after years of like people saying we can't do it, we can't get to the second weekend? Are we going to now swing the other way and be like, well, we did it once, we can do it again, right? That's kind of the nature of fanhood, right? We did it once, we should do it every year. I don't know. Are we going the other way now?
Well, it's interesting because, now people will ask questions along the lines, right, of, how does this team expectations wise in 2027, right, do compared to this year? And, you're so used to like comparing that sort of question in, April 29th of whatever year it may be to, a team that had a solid to good to really good regular season, but ultimately just didn't achieve what they wanted to when, it came tournament time, right? And now it's sort of the inverse of it, right? So it's interesting to look at. I mean, ultimately, like I say, there was a lot of games that come to mind that sting, especially as a sicko level fan, right? Those ones kind of stick with you in some ways, but through it all, what can I say? It's all worth it when you make up for it in the postseason. And I think it's hard to really attack it, but the foundation, the standard's been laid regardless. And how can you not, just be fired up by that prospect? And as we'll get into on the show, I mean, they're already making waves in terms of like retention and addition. It's been a huge success thus far, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would define it as a success as well. But Ben Stan, what say you on the off-season additions? Two of them being the main ones, and we'll talk about the high school additions as well too. But the two transfer portal additions, we considering this an off-season success so far for Ben McCollum?
Yeah, I think, and to back it up a little bit too, when you're talking about, what are the expectations of the fan base going to be? I think it also kind of plays into the recruiting cycle a little bit. Like neither player listed as a, necessarily a top 100 transfer. That, like, I think that irks a lot of, I don't want to call them casuals because it sounds condescending, but you see a lot of conversation in the Discord online of these fans coming back who, equate an Elite Eight run to like, hey, we should be getting top 10 transfers. And it's really an interesting, I think, prospect to get them to understand, like, if that's what you're waiting for Ben McCollum, you're probably going to be disappointed. And I think that's not to say it's underwhelming at all. I think that they're two really good pieces that this team needs to continue to push the program in the right direction. I think if you tie it back to expectations for next year, like, that's going to be a wild ride. Like, in some ways, and I think we could disagree on this, like, the goal is to get back next year to the NCAA tournament and, again, be in games that you are in position to win. I'd be shocked if they're back, in that position, just because there's so many moving parts. And I don't want to get too far ahead of it either because, the transfer portal is what it is. But I think it's going to be that next season, like Tyler said, with roster retention, if they can kind of hold it together, that next season is going to be the one that actually has some pretty significant expectations. I think there's going to be a ton of expectations next year, but I think it's going to be a little bit contrived by what happened in March this year. But for the two recruits, I'm stoked. I think that probably more excited, and I think I'm in the minority here. I think I'm more excited about McKeever than Coleman. And maybe that's because I watch more film on him. Obviously a huge body, but who are you drinking there, Tyler? Was that red wine?
Yeah, Cabernet. You ever watch like LeBron's podcast? That kind of like really started the trend for me. I'm not. It's not a one-time thing. Like if you're a friend of mine in real life, that's on a
stop me dead in my tracks because it's not what I was expecting. But anyway, yeah. So McKeever, but like it really good fun to watch his film. It's going to be wild to see how McCollum uses him, and I think obviously people understand him and Cam are going to be like yin and yang in terms of what they're going to be able to do. But his film, to me, is very interesting. So he doesn't move extremely well, which you could probably expect from somebody who's 7'3", but you can tell that he's still got like he's still growing into that. Like it was a pretty recent growth spurt, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, which is a pretty fun story if you haven't heard it. He during COVID, I think was 6'2", and then they canceled school for that year or did virtual learning and then came back like 6'10", and people had no idea who he was, which is pretty cool. And then, just kept growing into the 7'3" frame. But anyway, he plays big. And I think what St. Mary's did a really good job is using him in ball screen offense, I thought effectively but uniquely. So where he's going to struggle for the Big Ten is if he's setting an initial ball screen, these guards are too quick. I think they're going to get around him relatively easy, which is not good for how Ben McCollum likes to use ball screens. But what St. Mary's did really effectively is they brought up a primary screener just to slow down the guard, and then he comes and sets the second screen. And oh my gosh, were they insanely efficient off of that. So, you can get a ball reversal off that. Your point guard can pull up. He can take it to the basket. We're not going to get to see this, but I wonder if Bennett Sturtz would have just loved to have a year with him, kind of in the pick and roll game. And, obviously defensively, like he's a presence. Teams try to really pull him away from the basket. For him to have those rebounding stats for how often they actually tried to get him out on the perimeter is pretty impressive. I think that's kind of the McKeever download, and there's still a little bit more, I think, to get into there. And then Coleman, again, like if that's who Ben wants, if that's his guy, like I'm not going to question that at all. I do think there's still a lot of growth in his game, the decision-making. I like how he plays low to the ground. Like, I've heard a lot of people say like he doesn't look athletic. I don't think it's an athleticism thing. I think he plays off 2 feet, and it allows him to be extremely shifty in what he does. And he's a great finisher because he can do a lot of different things to make that last move to finish the play.
I love that. There's a lot to unpack there. Just wanted to get to a quick comment from Cole. Cole's been dropping a lot of comments talking about McKeever. He should play a Rudy Gobert type role with us. I think that's interesting. I think I can kind of see where Cole's going with that one. But Tyler, I'll kick it to you. What say you about McKeever and Coleman's game? What have you seen? The hours of film that I know you've watched.
It's been crazy. I had to admittedly refresh myself. I bounce so many different things off, especially with the playoffs going now. That's taking up a lot of my time. But I think there's a lot of value in just seeing different types. But to get back to it, especially in bouncing that comment off, I definitely understand, where, Cole's coming from with that, because, you just see how sheer length can, really just change the dynamic of a game altogether. I think, to roll off, what Ben Stan said, I think, you need to give him a lot of credit, too, as a screener, just from a sheer size standpoint. And we know how Iowa is in like the 99th percentile of ball screen utilization and offensively. And my favorite stat that was credit pulled to Sean Bach and his synergy stats. He was 71% field goal percentage as a roller this past season. And I think we all, know that his offensive game, especially, from a back to the basket standpoint, is still a work in progress. And, that growth spurt, the guy's still literally to this day growing into his body, right? So those physical tools are going to naturally take a little longer to fill out. But the feel for the game is clearly there. And to, kind of bounce off of the, different actions that he's utilized in, like, no matter how you view it most effectively, where my mind goes from there is, you saw Iowa this past season and really, if you kind of remember back to Drake as well, with when Coach McCollum was there, you saw the offense, go a little bit stagnant at times. And it was just because, they weren't getting to their second, third, however many, be it actions in their offensive continuity, right? So it's that type of principle, and just him being able to know how to play that is, of course, it's going to be a work in progress for anyone in the portal from a plug and play standpoint, but how can you not, love that sort of versatility? And I can't believe as well, you didn't mention, the passing chops that he has for a guy his size as well. Albeit, don't expect him to necessarily, be the primary usage guy, but, where my mind is, if you think about him as optimal self realistically next year, it's going to be as a roll man or a screener, right? And then playing out of the short roll, right? Because that you saw him get to a lot of high-low assist type of looks with St. Mary's, and Iowa showed that that's something that they will certainly flash to as well if the defense kind of allows it. For Coleman, I just see him and it screams like the Cale Combs role, but like plus, and not to mention younger, more athletic. And I'm a guy that, really likes Cale and the value that he brings, knowing the system as well. I think he's going to be an awesome guy for him to be able to learn from as well, and ultimately just kind of pick up the good things that he do. And I think they'll make each other better, frankly. But a guy that can space the floor, like you say, turnovers wise, there's, something left to be desired. And I think he showed that he has a bit of a ways to go defensively against, higher level opponents, but really came a long way throughout the year. Played in the full game, their last game of the season, the NIT semifinals against Auburn, is on YouTube, and anyone can go and watch that for free. And you see him playing on and off the ball. Really impressive stuff again for a true freshman, if you ask me. And it's just that type of IQ and buy-in. It sounds like, from a culture standpoint, he's going to be an awesome fit. And I'm just super excited to see how, he just gets it in the mix, because that type of parity within a team too, I think it's just such an underrated aspect from, how they can kind of, take it and just use it to become better as a group,
Yeah. I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. I'm glad you brought up the passing with McKeever, because that was the one thing that kind of caught my eye that was unique about him. I thought, as a 7'3" big man. Yeah, interesting too with like the growth spurt and all of that. We got the comments rolling in like we've never had the comments rolling in before. So I got to ramble through a few of these comments here to give love to some of the people listening to the show.
That's the Ben Stan effect right there.
Yeah, I love the Ben Stan effect of the show. Cole's saying we have maybe a top 35 roster by talent. Coaching will make a huge difference. Jeff Robertson weighing in, Discord legend, says need another big. Tony saying we need more WOB talk. It's time for some more WOB talk. But maybe we don't need it since we're going to 76. 76. Which, by the way, can we just take a side step and talk about AJ? I see you shaking your head. What are you thinking about 76?
Why change something that's so magical? Why? I don't understand. I really don't get it. I know it's because of money, but I just don't understand it. Obviously, they haven't laid it out yet. I'm assuming it's going to be some type of play-in, additional 2 play-in games or something like that. Have they talked about that yet?
I've seen things out there, but Tyler, Ben, what have you guys seen about the formatting for the play-in from 76?
Yeah, I don't know if it's all going to happen at Dayton, but it is going to be just more essentially play-ins. I had initially misunderstood it that all of the play-ins were going to be at larges. I don't think that's the case. I still think it's half and half, so not as good there, because I thought I didn't want expansion, but I was like, there's a way they could get this right. I tried to find the tweet earlier tonight because I thought we would be talking about it, or actually pulled the spreads on Haslam metrics, because you can do projected spreads on that. And if you did like the first 12 or 16 teams kind of playing into that field of 64, if you did like 8 at-larges and then 8 teams with like the highest KenPom rankings who didn't win their conference tournament, you got a lot of good teams like UAB, like good high mid majors, and the spreads on those games were like 1, 2, 3 points. Like there would be a way that they could make it entertaining to bring in some more stuff, and I think it's important because we're seeing the Cinderella go away a little bit, just with like the NIL structure, less upsets in the first couple rounds. And so I think that's one way that they could get that back a little bit, is to bring in some of those mid-majors who kind of just need that opportunity. But that being said, I have no faith it's going to get done. I think we're headed for, 16 and 15 LSU.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, which nobody wants to see that. Literally no one's asking for that. Am I going to watch it, though? The answer is yeah, because I'm kind of a sicko. I'm going to watch it. Like, nobody's asking for it, but will I watch it? Yeah, I'm going to be there. Cole chiming in and letting us know that the women's are going to 76 as well. I guess I missed that piece. So we're expanding on both sides. It's going to 76 all around.
Eventually, the product won't be as good. And I'm afraid that this might be the case. Look, I'm all for change, but I don't know. I don't care to see, LSU versus Auburn. I don't know. I just don't care to see that. I get the Cinderellas, and I'm on board with that, but I don't think it's going to go that route.
Yeah, for me, it's just going to increase the divide between conferences monetarily, like that much more. Especially like AQs in there. That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, I just wish they would have left it alone. We're fine at 68. We really didn't need the 68 thing. We were fine at 64, but here we are. Gonna rope it in and bring it back to Iowa. Let's see, AJ, you and I were kind of texting back and forth, and you kind of.
We're talking. We were talking earlier about the young, the freshmen that are coming in, and then what does Trey Thompson really look like? Like, obviously, we didn't see anything from him. I think, did he play at all this season?
No.
Okay. So I'm interested to see what he looks like. But yeah, Jaden Kuhn obviously coming in. What is that? Because that just adds depth to our team. But like, there's so much unknown with this team, with the transfers, the young guns coming in here, what does that look like? I'm so curious.
I think, like, I'll take down first and then you can go, Tyler, but I think it's going to be fun because I have absolutely no idea. Like, I know what these guys are good at and where their strengths are going to be, but I think that if they're going to go the red shirt route again, I couldn't tell you right now if it's going to be, if it's going to be Harris, Kuhn, or even Urok. Like, I think, like, if they go with any of it, I think there's different things you could try or look at to see like why they would do that. Because like Harris, like he's ready, but you look at some of the guys he's behind, and it's like, what, where are you going to use that? They could get some really good stuff out of him in the non-conference, but I think once they shorten that rotation again in league play, I wonder how strategic they'll be with that. And then, Kuhn, an insane athlete, the kind of guy we've wanted on rosters for a long time now. And he has all the tools. It's just going to be putting it together. So, I don't know. And maybe they won't redshirt, or maybe they will let them get that experience right away and that taste of it. For Trey Thompson, I think it was more on the defensive side of the ball. If you read between the lines as to why he, did redshirt, sounds like offensively he's ready to go. And Ben, he just lights up when he's talking about him. And, you're kind of learning Ben the same way you used to learn Fran. Like, you had the Franisms, and now we're starting to see the Benisms. And when you see his face lighten up talking about somebody, like that means something. And so I think people are really excited to see kind of what steps he's going to take, because he's a freak athlete, and he'll be a lot of fun. I think he'll be all Big Ten before it's said and done.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, where my mind goes, for guys that are going to play, McCollum calls it the hybrid, but, in my mind, I just think, guys that can play 3 and or the 4. I mean, Koch, Sage, Thompson, Harris, and throw Kuhn in there as well. And, at that point, you're kind of, even considering the 5s to an extent, just from like a minutes distribution perspective. Although I think relatively at this point in time, like, we're gonna, no matter who starts, finishes games more often than not, it's gonna be McKeever and Mannion at a relatively even split on an average basis. But between those guys, like, that is just such a good problem to have, if you ask me. And it's almost unbelievable to me. I mean, if we're to the point where I personally think like Trey Thompson is being really underrated, and I understand, why it's kind of come to that point, just given that, he had to end up redshirting, especially kind of after getting sick, like just after, a few games of passing the season, it kind of extended on. I think that was a bit of a setback for him. I'm just so excited. I mean, I really think of those guys, everyone, I think realistically, any of them except Harris and Kuhn could, really be in the starting lineup on opening night, and, let alone from, how they're managed in season. I mean, it's just iron sharpening iron at its best.
Yeah. You kind of jogged something for me talking about the way Trey Thompson's freshman year went. That's kind of a similar story to how Cooper Koch's freshman year went. He got sick early in the year, had a red shirt, and then came back and had a great year. Obviously, it's a different situation with him changing the coach in between there. So it's a little bit different, but I mean, that's giving me a little bit of Cooper Koch vibes with Trey Thompson there. I know they're totally different players, so don't hear me saying that they're the same player. But that's kind of where my mind goes just hearing you talk about him. Will Cam ever play with McKeever? That's a great question. What do you guys think?
I think he can, personally. I don't know now how often we see it. It's probably going to be matchup variant. I mean, and in general, I think to how Mannion was managed on a game by game basis, it was just so, it was just so night to night, right? And I don't have his game log pulled up, but you could go, I'm sure, and see, 10 minutes one night, then it's 18, then it's 23, then it's, 12. It was just, so game to game from that aspect for, a multitude of reasons, right? But I think, what comes, I mean, it's easy to have the Illinois loss come to mind, right? And that type of matchup, that's just more of a wait and see thing, if you ask me. But I think, albeit, it's probably not what you want, like optimally offensively. Manyao just has so much value, if you ask me, in knowing the system. And that's where, I feel like he was so underappreciated at times with his ability to just kind of keep the offense flowing, even if, he was often at a size disadvantage matchup wise and, overall, right, not able to just kind of produce what you would maybe have hoped originally from a statistical level. But we all know he can rebound. We all know that he knows how to hedge on screen like they always do, right? So I think I have a lot of confidence that, they're going to be able to play a number of lineups regardless with those guys.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, don't forget the lineup where McKeever's the 5, Urock's the 4, Cam's the 3, and then Cooper Koch is playing the 2 that we've read about on the Discord. We gotta make sure we get that one in there too. But no, I think those are really good points. Can they play together? Ben can figure it out. I don't know a lot of situations where they would necessarily have to. I'd be interested to see what that offense is going to look like, if it's going to be double high sets where you're trying to run screens off it. I think it puts a lot of pressures on the wings. So, but that's the kind of stuff he started to tinker with a little bit in the not off season, but non-conference last year. That was kind of fun to watch. This year, I don't know if they're going to have that flexibility in the non-conference. I think they are gearing up for, a little bit more of a challenging non-conference, or at least I hope so, with some of the rumors that are out there. Xavier's put together a top 25 roster. That Xavier game, and not to change the subject, but that Xavier game could be a lot of fun. True road game. Putting together, a really nice team. Little Richie over there. And then obviously you have Iowa State, and then the rumors of Creighton on a neutral site too. So this should be fun.
Oh, Creighton. Too bad we're a year too late on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Someone we would like to have some fun with there.
It's still the Jaden Kuhn revenge game, at least.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Jaden Kuhn revenge game. I love that angle. But can we get Auburn? There's one specific player I'm targeting here with my non-conference agenda. I think people can figure it out. All right. Well, you guys got anything else for us on McKeever and Coleman? Otherwise, we're going to take maybe about a 5-minute break here and come back.
The only thing I'd say quick too, if we're going to stick on, just to wrap up McKeever, is don't underestimate. And I know St. Mary's not chopped liver in terms of resources, but getting this guy into a Big Ten strength and conditioning program leading up to even this season, I think if he sticks around for a senior year, it's going to be absolutely day and night. But if you watch that film too, he's got the stick to itness that he needs. It's insane. He's a poor shot blocker because he's in position to block shots. So the two things I'm most jacked about is what are they going to do with him in a Big Ten weight program, and then Ben McCollum teaching him how to be a ball hawker defending. I think those are two things that can get right pretty quick for him. But that was the only other thing I was going to add.
Yeah, nice. I love that. Yeah, that's another great point to bring up, is that he's got another year of eligibility. He's not neither of these guys are 1-year rentals, which is another key part of building a program, is you can have both of them around for multiple years, hopefully. And that's kind of how we line up for 2 years out being kind of the bigger year. So we'll take a break, about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll come back.
Buying or selling a home is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make. That's why choosing the right real estate team matters. The Jenny Farrell team with RE/MAX Concepts has been helping families across the Des Moines metro find the right home since 1998. Born and raised right here in the community, Jenny understands the neighborhoods, the market, and what truly makes a house feel like home. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading your space, or preparing to sell, the Jenny Farrell team provides expert guidance every step of the way, from market analysis and listings to negotiations and closing. Their consultative approach means you'll feel confident, informed, and supported throughout the entire process. Jenny Farrell Team, RE/MAX Concepts. Call or text 515-779-7500. Visit jenniferfarrell.remax.com. Experience you can trust. Results you can move into.
Right here in Iowa, we don't mess around when it comes to food. Creasman Foods is raising the bar on frozen pizza. Bold sauce, loaded toppings, and crust that actually holds up when you grab that second slice. This isn't just another box in the freezer aisle. This is Iowa-made pizza, built on real food service experience and brought straight to your local grocery store. You can find Creasman Foods at Hy-Vee, Fairway, and other local retailers across the state. And if you don't see it, ask for it by name. Because if you're already buying frozen pizza, you might as well buy one that brings serious flavor to the table. Creasman Foods, Iowa-made. Big flavor, no shortcuts.
In the heart of Des Moines, one name stands above the rest. Step inside, where tradition still matters. Warm, familiar, unmistakably Iowa. Where every guest is welcomed like family. Service that's personal and never rushed. Fresh starts made daily. Iowa beef, hand-seasoned. Guided by fire, built on flavor. Served with pride. A bar as bold as the menu. Featuring the old-fashioned we're known for. A place that stays with you long after the night ends. Iowa Beef Steakhouse, 1201 East Euclid Avenue, Des Moines. Steak, done right. Not every animal gets a fair shot. But that's exactly what Animal Lifeline of Iowa is here to change. Since 1986, they've been stepping in for the ones who need it most. Injured, abused, orphaned, and special needs cats and dogs across Iowa. This isn't just a shelter, it's a lifeline. As Central Iowa's only no-kill shelter dedicated to special needs animals, they provide life-saving care, rehabilitation, and the opportunity for every animal to find a forever home, no matter how long it takes. But here's the deal. They can only save as many lives as the community supports. So get involved. Donate online. Hit up the Animal Lifeline thrift store, where every purchase fuels their mission. Or, better yet, find your next best friend and adopt. Because every tail wag, every purr, starts with someone like you. Animal Lifeline of Iowa, where we provide much-needed TLC and a safe space until they find their home.
Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing your home, or if it's simply time to renovate the one you're already living in, you need an experienced mortgage professional to help you analyze your financing options and to make sure the closing goes smoothly. And that's exactly what you get when you call Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. Kyle's experience and expertise, coupled with Wintrust's rates and programs, ensures you'll get the mortgage that's right for you. You may even qualify for down payment assistance. Before you reach out to a realtor, call Kyle and get pre-qualified, empowering you to start shopping for the home of your dreams. Call Kyle at 515-473-0546. Kyle Lehman, Wintrust Mortgage, 515-473-0546.
Freight brokers and shippers, are you tired of drowning in emails, spreadsheets, and endless manual work? Introducing USFX, your AI-powered private freight command center. Simply email your PDF rate confirmation or bill of lading to intake@us-fx.com. In seconds, our AI captures every detail, sets up your shipment, verifies carriers, and launches a live digital workflow. No IT setup, no delays. Build your private carrier network instantly. Send bids only to your trusted partners and watch real-time tracking handle everything from pickup to delivery. Cut the friction, boost your margins, scale with ease. USFX, the smarter way to move freight. Visit us-fex.com today and get your free demo. Start transforming your operation.
All right, we've been gone so long. We have new sponsors, and not even AJ and I have seen. We're
bringing
really
in the big bucks. The big bucks coming in.
First time basically since the basketball season ended that we've been back on. So we're getting surprised with the commercials that are flying at us. But AJ, lead us out here.
Yeah. I mean, I think my main question, I guess, to you guys and my expectations. I know we just finished out the transfer portal at this point. We're looking at the team depth wise. What are the expectations, right? Win total. Okay. Can we get back to that same win total? Can we do I know we kind of already talked about that. Can we get to the second round? But like, what are the true expectations? Like, what do you guys see for the expectation for this team next year?
Benson, you want to start? This is tough.
I'll kick it off. Because I think it's a good question. I think you have to look at it like almost throwing the Elite Eight run out the window. Like if that wouldn't have happened, like what would progression look like? And that's a little bit of my fear. And I mean, fans can feel however they want to feel, but if you would have said, hey, Ben McCollum makes an Elite Eight by year 5, I think 100% of the fan base would have been like through the roof excited about that. And the fact that it happened in year 1 now naturally brings expectations that I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think it's likely. I think that for this team, let's pretend a 76 team like tournament didn't exist yet. I still think like the goal next year would be to get back to the NCAA tournament with a single-digit seed. I think they have the players and the player progression to do that. But I do think they're going to be back in a position of, playing a team, and it's going to be a 2-3 point spread in that first one. Like, I think success for me, I would love it if they win a game in the tournament next year. I think a lot of people would call that a step back, and I don't necessarily think it is. I think, again, you got to look at it big picture, the player development stuff, what the roster is going to look like, and just know that we have one of the best coaches kind of leading the team. So that's my 2 cents on it. Now, I think that can change quickly, right? Like you watch 2 or 3 games, 4 games, and you find out really quick they probably have a higher ceiling or maybe, kind of lower floor. That doesn't take a ton of time to figure out. And not to get too far into the analytical side of it, but if they can improve their defense next year, and I think it's actually going to flip-flop. I think their defense will end up being better than their offensive efficiency next season. And then, when you pull that into March, anything can happen. So I do think, 22, 23 wins, that they add a game now, or at least they're allowed to add a game to the non-conference. And so they'll probably pick up one more win doing that. But, if they get 22, 23 wins going into the NCAA tournament, I think that's still really good progress towards the long-term goal or long-term goal.
Yeah, no, I like that for sure. And like you say, it's easy to get caught up in, particularly the type of run that a team is able to make in the big dance. I think ultimately, if Xavier Lee dumps it off and lays it in, not to manifest that sort of thing, right? But ultimately, you're looking at that season, like you say, to reflect that. And ultimately, it was a huge successful year for the program, as much as that kick in the groin would have hurt. So, I mean, I love the point as well about, how the kind of metrics for each, side of the floor are going to sort of lay out for them. I also think about, what type of, tempo do we see as well? Do we see them kind of look to open it up more? Because you have to remember as well, you're going to have more depth, you're going to have more high major level athletes, you'd like to think, as a whole. So that's all interesting to see. I think from a, an important question. Are they approving that 22nd game in the regular season for this coming year or not?
I'm only going by what Jordan had said, Jordan Samuelson. I think it is next year. I think he said that today. It's next year. I could be wrong on that, though.
I'll set a, don't get into bookmaking for those watching at home, but I would set an over-under as of today, but you can also fairly assume that they potentially bring in at least one more edition, right, before November. I'll set it at 20.5 regular season wins, or maybe 21, depending on how the money sways, right? And then, if you can get 3 combined tournament wins from the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament from that point, via, like you say, a single-digit seed, I think that's sustaining success for sure. And ultimately, it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. I'm sure we'll get into it as well. What does the final roster look like for me? I mean, I think you guys see one more guard personally, but ultimately, if you can get a talented player in the mix at any point that can play multiple positions, particularly like that is going to raise this team's floor, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, and I think they're going to add another combo guard probably. I think that's might be the route that they take if they do, and I'm not sure if that's going to be. I think it'd probably be less likely that it's going to be a transfer. Could it be maybe someone in the freshman class, or what do you guys think? Is it going to be a transfer, or maybe a late freshman ad there?
I think anything is in play personally. I mean, you got to remember that Tice DeRitter, those rumors were flying fairly late in the summer. I believe he committed to Virginia in July. And you see guys, commit even later than that. So obviously high school, like you said there, that would come sooner than later. But, we'll have to see, especially with just international guys coming into the fold. It's so tough to make a true feel on, but the portal is going to eventually open again. I think a lot's in play, and you've seen that they have a they have a reclass card in their bag as well. So ultimately, I think they're going to take whatever they think is the best fit. But I would agree. I would expect a lead guard and/or a guy that can, like you say, to play the 1 and 2.
What's the transfer portal look like then? I know it's closed now, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know when it reopens for a fact. I can find that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing as Tyler there. Not that it's good podcast material, but I'm almost expecting to be completely surprised at where they go with it. I think if you look at the roster, like we all probably feel the same way as what we think they need. But yeah, there's just so many moving parts that I think it could end up anywhere.
I mean, I was holding out a last bit of hope for Mika Miranin. No. The guy who went to Arkansas, I know that wasn't realistic. Maybe Tyran Stokes? No.
Yeah, geez.
Yeah, come on. No. We just Tyler taking me back with the Tice DeRitter. I was so hyped over the moon about potential of Tice DeRitter being on Iowa's team. So I like to live in an alternate universe where we get him and go to the Final Four.
These domino effects when you follow recruiting closely and think about, just the difference, like one what may seem like an insignificant move. Obviously that one is not that in that case, but man, it's just insane to think about, what could have been, especially, I mean, that I think we can confidently say, last season's roster looks very much different if, they land him in the end. And it's just crazy how this stuff goes nowadays.
Was Wagner was potentially Wagler. I mean, was he potentially going to Drake, right?
Until Illinois swooped
in. That's a different tangent right there. That is an interesting one. I frankly don't know much to verify on that, but okay. I mean, he did officially visit Drake fairly late in his senior year, right? So, but I know regardless he did, and I mean, if he's confident that he's going to get him, then yeah, that's one that didn't even cross my mind when I was going on that rant.
Yeah. We talked about it here where I kind of went like, there's an alternate universe where we have Sturt's Wagler backcourt in Iowa City.
Unbelievable.
Tice DeRitter rolling around too. But that didn't come to fruition, so here we are, which is in a great spot. But want to kind of flip the script and talk about the two guys so far. Again, we've talked about how the roster might fill out, but Ethan Harris and Jaden Kuhn come into Iowa City next year, and you already mentioned they're kind of those hybrid type role 3-4 kind of guys. But give me a breakdown of both of their games. Like, what can Iowa fans expect? Not just short term, but also maybe like long term. How do they project both of them?
Ben, you want to lead or?
I'll start with Ethan. I think like he can shoot it a little bit, which is really nice. I think that'll probably take some time to translate over to Big Ten, but watching mostly highlight films, but there's a really good one that you can watch where he went up against a Colorado State recruit, and they went back and forth. He finished with 36, the other guy had 31. He was doing it all. Like, I think he had a couple step back threes, looked really nice in rhythm. He was attacking the basketball. Like, it comes very, very easy to him. So I think like he's somebody who has a really high ceiling in terms of, again, just get him in the program and get him around guys. And I think it's going to click really quick. The other thing that Ben loves about him is his motor. I think there was a story last year through the recruiting cycle about him getting up for a 7 a.m. basketball game and just, going nuts on it. And like, that's the kind of thing Ben wants is, are they turned on all the time? And if you watch his highlights on YouTube and stuff, like he is talkative. He's a loud dude. And not in a obnoxious sense, but just a lot of confidence. And I think he could have that edge that you want to see. His style's quite a bit different than Koch, but we saw Cooper just turn into a dog throughout the year. Like last year, he felt quiet, reserved, and by the end of the season, he's just backing it all up with his play. And I love that stuff. And I think Ethan Harris can grow into that really, really quick. The one thing I'll say, but this is pretty much anybody who's transitioning from high school basketball to college basketball, is there's a lot of stuff he's going to have to tighten up like really, really fast. He's loose with the ball a little bit. He dribbles it pretty far out. So that's one thing for 6'8". He can handle it well, but he doesn't protect the ball well. I mean, that's pretty natural, right? When you're going to make that kind of a jump into the Big Ten and stuff that they'll get cleaned up right away. But I do think that some of the things, if you watch those subtleties, probably not going to be a significant contributor against high-level competition right away. That's not to say he won't play right away or any of that, or he won't be able to turn that over quick once he gets up there. I don't know any of that, but he has huge upside. I'm super stoked for him.
I would agree. I mean, for me, the main thing, and going off my rants earlier about multiple guys, I mean, you see him playing winning basketball, off the ball. He gets 2 feet in the paint. He, like you say, high intensity guy, loves to get up and guard by all means of things. And I think still filling out his body clearly. And I mean, once he especially gets into that, I mean, it just feels like such a luxury with how excited and optimistic everyone talks about the strength and conditioning program that Iowa has now. I think that they're going to really help him reach another level. And like you mentioned, with a guy like a comparable build to Koch physically, just seeing how he was able to come such a long way defensively and on the boards this season gives me, so much optimism for him. I would agree, especially with now the log jam that they kind of have, at his position. It may be, tough for him to really see the floor significantly. But I mean, personally, I think he's going to be very much in the mix as well. And it's going to be just really fun to see how he gets on, because, I mean, if you're able to play winning basketball, he's going to find a way to, contribute to this team for sure.
Yeah. I love what Ethan Harris projects to be. I know that Gonzaga was in on him. Obviously, he's a Washington kid. So if you're an elite player in Washington, Pacific Northwest, Gonzaga is going to be looking at you. But to me, he looks kind of like one of those classic Gonzaga wings in terms of his play style. So I'm glad we got that kind of a guy coming our way. Because that's kind of one of the guys that you can build around on the wing there. And just, envisioning him and Koch this upcoming season, but also next season, and Sage too, just that extra element of having a lot of shooters around, good guard play and a big. I think that's really what McCollum's trying to build here. And that's what a lot of teams are trying to build, right? I think he's kind of doing that with Harris. Talk to me about Jaden Kuhn. Obviously, Iowa Mr. Basketball was committed to Creighton, decided to decommit after the Greg McDermott retirement there, reopen it, and then Iowa lands him. Talk to me about Jaden Kuhn's game.
I can leave with this one if
you
like.
Please.
It goes without saying.
You got it.
Oh yeah, it goes without saying. I mean, a super powerful athlete. I really see a ton of Howard in him. Just watching him, and being the Iowa high school sicko that I'm forced to be. You get the chance to see him play a good few games live a year, and you know, is really raw upside. I think if you had to pick a redshirt favorite for next year, he would probably be my pick as of today. But that's not a slight on his game. You got to remember the log jam again that he's kind of forced going into. But ultimately, a work in progress, and from a shooting standpoint, I'm not sure if I can ever see him becoming like an elite shooter. But similar like with Isaiah Howard, it's a guy that you just want to see make the right decisions. Downhill, I would not want to see him, and he's going to be an unbelievable lob threat straight away. So ultimately, it's just going to come down to being able to play, in the system, finding the right lineups, I think, for him. And I mean, I can't wait to see him, continue to fill out, because it's hard to find, weights for high school guys, but his 24/7 profile is listed at 6'6", 180. I think now I should have pulled up Howard as well. Howard is shorter. He's 6'5", and he was listed at 215 this past year. So, and that as a true sophomore, right? So that for me just thinks about how quickly a guy like him is going to be able to continue to come into his own physically. I mean, I think by year 2, 3, whatever it may be, I mean, he could be an absolute freight train, and just someone that is going to be, I mean, a guy that will make winning plays on the defensive end for sure. I mean, he's such a game changer. And, I understand 3A Iowa high school, you can say whatever you want about that, but the guy just finds a way to be a total disruptor on both ends. And again, another guy that's really talked up from a culture fit standpoint as well.
He's giving me Eric May vibes. I don't know why I'm getting some strong Eric May vibes from Jaden Kuhn. So
I can totally
I think he's going to do the same thing to the rim as Eric May like to do for sure.
Right. That's where I'm going with it. Is I've seen the highlights, all the dunks. That's where I'm getting the Eric May.
His final high school game against ADM. Go and find highlights of that if you can. He put on an absolute show against an extremely well coached team, and that was with that. I'm looking at the stat line now. He finished with 36, 18, 2 assists, and only 3 turnovers as well for the type of usage he was taking on against again a really good team that almost won it all. I mean. This is, I need to stop myself before I go too crazy, but I think ADM was probably a top 10 team in Iowa this past year. So I think it just really says a lot from how he came from a discipline standpoint, that he was able to play just such a well-rounded game against those guys.
Also love the Storm Lake connection with
absolutely
Ben McCollum. I think that's kind of a cool story. So, all right, Ben Stan, I didn't mean to cut you off. What are your thoughts on Jaden Kuhn's game?
No, I don't have anything to add to that. I think it's pretty spot on. The one thing I will say that people should just be, ecstatic about is and this is, again, not a slight to anybody on the current roster, but you feel like Combs and Howard and Maniau, even Banks, when he was around, like they might not be at their ceiling, but I think they're pretty close. Like I don't expect any of them to do something significantly better than what they've already done. Better, absolutely, but like I don't think any of them are going to completely just blow us away with next level growth. I think the exciting thing is for Harris, Kuhn, Trey Thompson, even Cooper Koch with 3 years left, like the growth that they could still experience. So what their top level is, to me, is insanely different than some of the current guys. And it works out really well together. Like, again, it's not to pit any current against future, but I think these are truly like Big Ten dudes who, and we have no reason to believe that Ben McCollum's not going to get the best out of anybody. So you get really excited looking at that player development and just thinking about what he could do with these guys. And you don't know exactly what it will look like. You just know that you're really, really excited that there's going to be 4 or 5 dudes who, if they hit their potential, Iowa basketball will be very different.
Yeah, I'd throw Sage in that mix too, maybe.
Yeah.
A little bit. Tate Sage. So, yeah, there's a lot of potential. Couple other quick hits here. Who's going to be handling the ball the majority of the time? I think Combs and Coleman would probably have the inside track on being the starting backcourt today. But of those two, I mean, it's not going to be as obvious maybe as last year when we had Sturts predominantly using up the ball. How's that split going to look? How do you guys think that breakdown is going to go there in the backcourt?
That's all you, Tyler.
I think this is where, from a thought process on the question, I personally, if I had to guess, think that, the backcourt is not entirely filled. Now, if you told me, it is, then I'll play along with it as well. I think, like you say, the biggest question for me is, can Tate Sage, really come into play the two offensively? I think he's at his best a guy that's kind of your tertiary ball handler, right? Because, you get kind of a feel watching these McCollum offenses that, the lead guard is taking up such a significant amount of the usage. But then, you have, and I've talked about this before, this kind of a niche role that guys like Combs, Isaiah Jackson, if you remember him from Drake, and others in the past shown they're capable of it, of just kind of being the secondary ball handler that can settle the offense, help them reset and just get to the next action effectively, even if, they're not the most talented off the dribble guy necessarily, and also a plus athlete that can defend. So for me, when I think of that, I think Coleman can come in straight away and just be an absolute demon in that sort of role. But ultimately, when you have a guy like Kale, yes, less talented, but going on 3 years now playing in that offense, and really I thought it came a long way last season against the competition. I think you always sort of thought that it was going to be a lot for him, especially if you went back 1 year ago today, said that he was going to be starting majority of games and playing such a large amount of minutes. You thought, that's probably a little too much for him, and maybe even still at a ideal viewpoint it was, but he came in and just really stepped up and got better. And you saw his confidence grow too, which I absolutely love. So I think if I had to predict, I'll be a little bold. I'll say they would give Sage that starting 2 spot, and then Combs is there. But no question, from a minutes distribution standpoint, I think it's going to be pretty even between them.
Yeah. Quick prediction on a starting lineup for next year. Just knowing that the roster probably isn't filled out, so this may not be a very fair question right now.
Yeah, I don't want to go with 5 names. Yeah, I don't want to go with 5 names, but I'll say, don't be surprised if McCollum starts with his dudes, like right away in the season. I wouldn't be surprised at all if those 2 new additions, depending on if there is a third, aren't starting right away to start the year. I do think, Tyler, you touched on some good stuff about Kale Combs. If he plays the way he did the first fourth of the year and the last fourth of the year, they're going to be just fine. And then we know he was kind of dinged up through the middle of it all. And so I think that, I don't think people's pain point right now is that the talent is not good enough for those 2 to initiate offense and run what Ben wants to run. I think the nerve part of it is it just feels a little thin right now in terms of if there is an injury or if something does happen. I think putting Tate Sage or Isaiah Howard into those positions where they do have to be ball handlers, semi-primary ball handlers, probably does lead to some hesitation. I think Tate Sage did way better than people expected last year, myself included, for handling the ball. But yeah, I think they're just thin there. So I don't know what the starting 5 will be, but my prediction is it's going to be a lot of familiar faces to start the year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if you, kind of bouncing off of that, if you made me, predict at least the 5, I think today I would say Manyaw just because of that value and knowing the system. But also, it's a bit of a cliche, but I think McCollum certainly impacts that, if you start the game, he'll stick with that, right? And I think there's some value in just staying with that from a scouting standpoint, but he also just truly is going to play the guys that are playing best at the end of the game. And going back to my thing about Manyaw's, game by game management, I mean, I think that's the perfect encapsulation of that.
And I think we kind of saw this in the tournament run too, where who starts not always necessarily the most important when you're talking Ben McCollum. It's who finishes. Because Fulgaris didn't start, right? And he was obviously a very important part of the run, and he was finishing games in the tournament. So I think we should focus as fans, which it's hard to do, less about who starts and more about who finishes. Who's there at the end of the game when things are really crunch time.
It's hard to do that though. I feel like as a fan, it really is.
It is. Yeah, most fans aren't going to ever think with that perspective, but I would encourage you to. If you don't, now start. The Ben McCollum extension. Where is it? Have we seen the Ben McCollum extension officially yet? We know it's coming, right? But we haven't seen the numbers.
Yeah. No, nothing public. I think, certainly coming. I also wonder, in talking to Beth at the Big Ten tournament, I think Elite Eight run or not, and I don't know if the extension would have come after this season necessarily, but you can tell there's a plan here and the vision for long term. I do think they probably have to iron out some incentive stuff now with some of the NCAA tournament changes. Assistant pool, I would imagine, will be a big story around it when it does drop. I don't know necessarily what the holdup is. I think we have pretty decent information that it's already been, talked about between the two. And I guess I wouldn't be shocked if it is done already. And I don't know if they're going to go public with it right away or wait. I don't know why some people do wait. They waited. Gary waited with Fran. I know North Carolina's waited a couple times to announce it till later. I don't know what the intention is there, but confident it will get done.
Can I just throw dirt on Iowa State and say that Ben McCollum waited for the Otzelberger contract to come out to negotiate his contract and said, I've been doing Elite Eight. Give me more than $6 million a year.
That's a good point. But
sorry.
You're fine. I was just gonna say, I agree. I think the vast majority of stuff in principle, reading between the lines, is likely there. Now, this is pure speculation at the same time, and we for legal online reasons, right? We know that this can change in a heartbeat in theory, but I think how especially North Carolina particularly search kind of panned out. I think my confidence is that he's going to be here for a significant amount of time. And frankly, when it comes to announcements, there's a one about a certain Iowa facility that I think is coming in this off season that is at the top of my mind almost more than the contract.
Oh, you're talking Carver Hawkeye changes.
I believe so. That's been floating around for a bit now. Man, I really think that's one of the true next steps in getting the program to where they probably want it to be,
You and I believe one of your friends were kind of in on the ground floor of some of that stuff, right? Beth was kind of pulling a marketing class or something.
Yeah, man, you have a good memory for that. I wasn't there. It was the first year after my undergrad. My buddy is a year younger than me. He might be watching this now. So shout out to you, dude, if you're watching this. But yeah, he was in it. Essentially got to give, capstone, different groups got to give capstone-esque, pitches to bounce off from an idea standpoint. But pretty certain he mentioned, on the initial phases that, Fran actually came in and gave a bit of a talk to the class as well, just from a, kind of a, rally around the, concept standpoint, just know that, what they're doing is making an impact. So, yeah, certainly fun. It was interesting, I remember hearing his final project, some of the stuff, they had to just give a vast idea of pitches, different features, but albeit it was never going to be take one idea entirely and run with it. But this this, section of students like on the floor behind the basket this coming year, I think was just such a domino effect for the students. I think, frankly, if you had to make me guess, I think the students this past season by the end of the year were having a better swing than the general public, right? So
love
I'll
to hear
give
that.
them some credit. Put that one on your LinkedIn, dude.
That's great. Yeah. Is it too early to rename it McCollum Court, or are we too early to these discussions? I'm maybe going a little too far. But all right, AJ, anything else on your mind here tonight?
I'm like so jacked up right now listening to you guys talk about the team and the depth, and yeah, I'm like excited. I want basketball season to start right now.
Yeah. Any football thoughts from you guys? I know we invited you on to talk basketball. Any football thoughts at this current moment in time, because that's kind of the next major sport coming up.
This is tough. I was at the spring game. It was very on par, I think, for what you expect if you've been to those. Like I was at Kids Day. I personally think the fan base is still reacting to quarterback a little bit. My prediction for week 1 start would still be Hecklinski, but also if I think I would be prepared for an overreaction if Brown did win it, but I also don't think that's the end of the world by any means if it is him.
Love it. We just didn't get to see Tony Diaz, so go ahead.
I think I'm just soaking it in. To have somebody like Kirk Ferentz and such a loyal staff. It'd probably be the last time we see that in college football, and it's pretty cool to have him or that be at Iowa. It's fun to have something so reliable in terms of long-term success. And I don't know if this is kind of, again, the year before the year that they're hoping. There's a lot of, places to or pieces to replace, and there always are in football. But I don't know. I think it'll be fun. I am excited to see some of those new names too, if they are healthy and ready to go. But surprise, surprise, sitting here wondering what they're going to get at quarterback will probably be pretty important.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Braden Jackson in the running back room, that isn't buy your stock now, because he was really impressive, and I've heard some good buzz about him.
Crazy that we're talking about Braden Jackson with all the other running backs we got going on in that room.
I love him. I followed him at Ankeny Centennial. Yeah. I'm out here in Ankeny, and I saw probably, I don't know, 6 of his games. He was pretty good. He had some fumbling issues, but I enjoyed watching him. And I mean, his dad's a legend. So
absolutely, yeah. Even if in theory, just because of the log jam, the peak of his career isn't at Iowa, that stock will translate no matter where he's at.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, any other thoughts or things, Tyler, Ben, you guys want to plug before we call it a night?
He's got to go first. He's got the huge platform. Come on now.
Yeah. What do you want to plug?
This is ridiculous.
What do you want to plug tonight?
I got nothing to plug. Thanks for having us on. I think it's always fun to talk hoops. A lot like the off season can get a little bit mundane and redundant, but we're going to start to see the schedule stuff trickle through here, which is always exciting. I think for the first time, I think last year there was a lot of build up to it. I think it's going to be a much better start to the season in terms of fan support, getting around that stuff. And so I'm just, as you already said, I can't wait for November. But I got to get through summer first. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been crazy. And again, thank you guys for having us. It's always a ton of fun. It's been a crazy few weeks for me. I just started a new job. I'm a high school coach as well, going into my 3rd season. We got our summer program starting up in June. So that's been on my mind a lot. NBA playoffs, just trying to take in as much different stuff as possible. So it's good to, really lock back in on, fully Iowa thought process for a few days. And definitely want to, keep it rolling. But Twitter's on screen, TCraigsHoops, and yeah, just follow along for my chaos, whatever's going through through me on a daily basis.
I'm glad you brought up the NBA playoffs. Real quick, who's winning it? Who's winning it all?
We're gonna have a Peyton Sanford versus Luka Garza finals, and I'm gonna say Thunder in 6. I just don't think Celtics can quite hold up down low with them.
Garza might actually get to play in the NBA finals. Do we think that's?
Oh yeah, he's been pretty consistent, in terms of seeing the floor. So yeah, I would think so. And I think, man, I just feel like I like the lineups of him better than Vooch, like genuinely.
Yeah, I think he's overtaken the Nikola Vucevic minutes, so I'd be all for that. Ben, your thoughts? Who's going to win it all?
NBA. If you want to talk about it for another hour, I could tell you why it's the worst league in the entire world. I can't believe it's the same sport as college basketball that we absolutely love. I hope it gets canceled. I hope something happens where they're not allowed to play games. It has become an absolute joke show of the game we love.
I love it.
I'm glad that we have the same but opposites in some ways.
Yeah, Tyler loves it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more on the Tyler side of I love the NBA. AJ,
I'm not a fan. I'm with Ben Stan here.
Are you not rolling deep with Denver? You roll with Denver sports teams and all your other sports.
I'll tune in the playoffs. Give me 3 games in the playoffs, maybe. I don't know. It's not the same basketball. I 100% agree. I can't watch it. I don't know. Right. Something about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you though, Tyler. Thunder. I'm probably 5 or 6 in the finals, regardless of matchup.
Well, I can't wait for the hopefully they get there, but I think the Spurs Thunder Western Conference Finals.
Oh,
that will be some peak stuff right there. That can be a narrative flipping series against the, like you say, the other half of the show or whoever it may be.
Yeah, I like Wemby. Wemby a lot. So, all right. Well, thank you both, and maybe we'll have you both back on after Caden Daughtry commits to Iowa. We can only hope. We can come break down 5-star.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
But I don't have any intel. I'm literally just wish casting, so don't take that seriously, anybody. But thank you everybody for being on tonight and giving us at least more than an hour of your time. So, well, I'm sure we'll have both of you guys back on as basketball gears back up again, and maybe throughout the season if you're open to it. So, thank you all, and appreciate you, and hope you all have a great night. Go Hawks!
Thanks, guys. Go Hawks!
Talking football, talking hoops, every sport in between. I don't trouble your way, yeah, you know what I mean. From my onside view, see the whole state rise. With a heart so strong and fire in our eyes. On the field, on the court, in the stands we shine. The best in the game, yeah, the state is mine.